Here on Big Brain Party, we like out-of-the-box thinkers and people that are willing to push the envelope and get a little bit weird. Well, today we have the weirdest flat pedal I've ever seen, and I mean that in a good way. This is the 9.8 INVRS, and they just came out, and I want to tell you more about these. The idea behind the INVRS pedal is to put the spikes on your shoes and the rubber on your pedal, kind of the inverse of what we normally do. What are some of the benefits of that? Number one, no more bloody shins. The idea is the spikes on your shoes mean their spikes aren't flinging back at you for newer riders or people that tend to get a lot of shin gashes from their pedals. They also talk about using it in winter conditions, and I think that makes a ton of sense. If you're walking around in icy or slippery stuff, having micro spikes on your shoes makes a ton of sense for walking around. Now, I can already hear the gears in your head turning about all the things you don't like about this because it's different. Let's just explore this with no judgment first. So these look like your favorite sticky rubber shoe. Hopefully 9.8's got the rubber compound on this right. It'll be interesting to see if it feels as sticky and tacky as my favorite soft shoes. One cool thing is it's got user replaceable rubber pads on it. So if they do wear down, you can just replace that and keep it going. These use an alloy spindle, high quality bearings, and a nylon pedal platform. I actually prefer nylon pedal platforms over metal. In general, composite pedals transfer less vibration to my ankles and hips and back. They're about the same size as a race face Chester. Now, here's the really interesting part, is putting spikes on your shoes, and there's a few ways to do that. Here's an SPD mount, and here are some studs that you can screw into your favorite shoes. Kind of like how fat bikes run studded tires and they screw metal studs into those to get more grip in ice. This is doing the same thing with your shoes. So what excites me the most is that now you can run non-cycling shoes as cycling shoes. So if you have a favorite pair of athletic shoes that fit you really well, you can add studs to it and now you've got a great fitting bike shoe. So over here we've got our tin of long screws, and what that is for thicker soles. They can get screwed into the sole deeper. If your shoes don't have as thick of a sole, you'll use the short ones. Now you have to be careful opening this up. It's easy to have these pins go flying everywhere and then you're picking them up off the ground. So you can run these on your favorite clipless cycling shoes in here. It looks like you're gonna have a bigger stud on this setup than over here. Another cool thing, these are carbide tipped studs. That's like what you find on the end of trekking poles. They wear down way, way slower than steel, so they stay nice and sharp. So it's totally some out-of-the-box thinking, putting the grip on the pedal and the spikes on the shoes. Now, obviously, there are places this isn't gonna work. You're not gonna walk into your coffee shop wearing those shoes or walk across your hardwood floor and gouge them all up. I almost wonder if this might drive a different type of shoe design if this catches on, where you can have the spikes on your shoes, but it's kind of recessed into the sole. I don't know, there's lots of interesting ways to solve that problem of walking around with clickety-clackety spiky shoes. I think we should go to the trail and install these and find out what they ride like and find out which shoe option fits better. All right, we're gonna use my clipless pedal shoes that I wear for everything. And I'm gonna mark them real quick so I can put my cleats back to where they were. This Crank Brothers cleat tool is so good. It works for multiple different cleats. Man, this is gonna be so interesting. My brain is going crazy. Okay, this fits that channel, barely. You install it with these orange pucks on. Okay, so that is sitting a little bit proud. Oh, not too bad. It sticks out a little bit more than the soles of the shoe, but not a ton. Okay, that was better than I thought. I ran them in the most rearward position because that's how I put my feet on my pedals. I got a whole video about that and foot placement and how it changes how your bike handles. Okay, these are Teva low top, really great hiking shoes. This is their install tool. It's kind of interesting because the rubber twists a little with it. Oh, that wasn't as hard as I thought it was gonna be. All right, ooh, those are pokey. These stick out more than these do. Ooh, I'm getting excited all of a sudden about this. All right, I put 10 studs in. That took me about 5 minutes. They really stick out. So this has been interesting in theory, but now let's go hit the trail and see what they actually ride like. It is 16 degrees Fahrenheit, which is -9 Celsius. There's gonna be slippery ice and snow and wet rocks around. Let's start out on the INVRS pedals with my DIY spikes added to my hiking shoes. I was worried these wouldn't be as sticky as good 510s on something like a Chester. Right off the bat, they feel very, very close. When I twist my feet on them, there's zero float, and I like zero float in my flat pedals. I've got a whole video about float and how it affects your riding. Make sure you go check that one out. These pedals came in at 303 grams a piece. Chesters are 177. I can't say that I noticed the weight on the trail right now. Maybe slightly less sink in, that feeling where 510s sink into the pins. Here on these little bit steeper things, I'm getting a little bit of foot movement. I do love the idea of being able to put the pins wherever you want. I'm curious if more pins or fewer pins would give me more grip. I imagine if you have too many, it's like laying down on a bed of nails where none of them poke in. Be fun to experiment with that. The grip's better than I expected. Everyone tries to make sticky rubber for their shoes, and only 510 and Specialized have really managed to get them sticky enough for me. So let's talk about some things that you can do on this that you can't do on normal pedals. No more bloody shins. That's a big deal for a lot of people. Some people get bloody calves if their feet slip forward. I like the idea in the cold and the snow like this of not tearing up my pants or my clothes if I slip a pedal. I'm gonna try walking along on the ground. That's another benefit is, oh wow, that's surprisingly nice. Walking along and having grip on these snow and ice. I definitely see a benefit there. It's also nice knowing the dangerous parts, the spiky parts are attached to you. They also let you choose whatever shoe you want. So if you find it hard to find shoes that fit for mountain biking, either because of your foot shape or your knees, or you just don't fit the average foot profile, that your whole world just opened up to new shoe options. And I think there are going to be a lot of people excited about that. Yeah, I've got a lot of confidence. It feels good on these. Just feels like mountain biking to me. Now I'm going to take one shoe off and put the clipless shoe on to see how that compares. So one foot is going to stay this and one foot's going to be clipless. Here's what we're going to be throwing on. Quite a difference there. All these little contact pads are in one little spot. Oh, this is weird. I do not have as much traction on the SPD style. I think they're just not quite distributed across a big enough area. Oh, this is fun. Yeah, so I'm getting a lot more foot movement when I don't want it. I feel like I kind of have to grind my pedal into that. Currently, this is not a benefit over anything else for me. Interesting. If I put the ball of my foot on there a little more, I get a little bit more traction, but still not nearly as much as our left foot here. Another thing you're gonna have to factor when running a clipless shoe with this pad on it is the stiffness of the sole, and if it's gonna let it conform to the pedal, or if it's rock hard and you've only got that little rectangle of contact. This is not my preferred way to do it. It'll still have plenty of traction for a lot of people, but I like ultimate traction. One of the things a lot of people like about flat pedals is you can wear your everyday shoes on them, and after your ride you don't have to change shoes. You can just go have fun and go into the shops and continue your day. That's not the case with this. you're gonna have to swap your shoes out if you go anywhere. I've got enough grip to have fun here with the clipless shoe. I'd say it's like 60% the grip as the carbide tip spiky DIY solution. I just find my foot sliding around when I don't want it to. Okay, now I'm gonna pull these off and put sticky 510 on this foot and a regular Chester on that foot to see how these compare. If you enjoy this kind of nerdiness, you belong here. Make sure you're subscribed. Yeah, you can just see the difference. Here I can put the spikes wherever I want. Here they're all concentrated in one small area. And it's kind of packing up with ice. I'm guessing because that's metal and cold and attracting it, and it's harder to get that off. Maybe that was part of what I was feeling. So right now, the DIY or stud your own shoes solution is working better for me. I love that these are carbide tips. I have some trekking poles that have carbide tips that I have hundreds, if not thousands of miles on. And carbide tips stay grippy and pointy for so long. I'm sure that wasn't easy for 9.8 to do, is to get carbide tips, and they're gonna make it more expensive, but it's gonna make for a much better experience. I wonder if we'll ever see carbide tip studs on pedals. All right, 510 with traditional pedals versus 9.8 inverse. It takes a second to kind of settle down into your pedals. Get those pins to sink in. I feel like the 510s wrap around the pedal a little bit more. I might just have a little softer sole. At the moment, they're pretty close though in grip. But if I'm walking in ice and snow, forget about it. Those 510s are slippery. I'm getting about the same amount of movement left and right on these. Same amount of twist. That's really interesting. I will say the fit of the Tevas fit my foot better. 510, you're kind of locked into their shoe designs, and their shoes kind of crunch my toes a little bit. So if you want a wider foot box, man, this could be a great option. Oh, the 510s have just like 5% more, maybe 10% more resistance to twisting out of, less float. All right, let's have some fun. I really feel it on corners like that, where you're twisting your feet through the corner. Where you kind of ride like a skier and use your hips and your feet to control. That's where I really feel pedals and shoes that are not super grippy together. Oh, this has been fascinating. The performance is very close between the two of these. And one other thing is you can replace the rubber pads on these pedals, which I love. I wish we could do that with 510s. Someone needs to come out with a resoling tool where you glue a new sole on your shoes. I know the 510 rock climbing shoes do it. So many of my shoes are in great shape except for the bottoms. So I like that 9.8's thought about keeping these going in the future. They are noticeably heavier. That's definitely a downside. You just feel them in the hand and you're like, whoa, I'm about to bolt these onto my bike. They're kind of heavy. 510s are not lightweight shoes. They're pretty heavy themselves. So maybe we've taken the weight of the 510s and put them on the pedal, and now I can run a lighter weight trail runner or hiking shoe. One place I absolutely do not like these pedals is wearing everyday shoes with them with no spikes. They are super slippery. So even commuting, there's no way I would recommend someone run these without spikes. They're just a little dangerous to me. Maybe you'll find the perfect sole that sticks to these, but my 510s do not stick to these inverse pedals when I have no pins in them. So who are these not for? I think these are not for people who have zero issues with traditional pedals and sticky shoes. The shoes fit you well. You're always on your bike. You're never hike-a-biking. You're not riding in slippery terrain where you need the spikes on your foot, or you're using your shoe
in different locations where you have to go from bike to restaurant to bike to shop or whatever, and you don't want to take them off. So who are these for? These are for people willing to think outside the box, who are sick of getting bloody shins and calves and are ready to put the spiky part on their body instead of on the bike. It's for people who do get off and wish for more traction. You don't just have to put the spikes where the pedals are. You could put them on your toes or your heels. And I predict people buying the spikes, even for their 510s, to like put them on different places to get grip on their toes when they're off-road. So you can get real experimental with that. I think it makes a ton of sense in the snow and cold, where everything just seems to hurt a little more. Everything seems a little more slippery and harder to get traction. I don't think the clipless pedal cleat solution is what I'm looking for, but it might be plenty for what you're looking for. Oh dear, do we dare try the bonus line? I'm a little scared if I step off on the rocks that it'll be slipperier. So let's just make sure I don't step off. Here we go. Plenty of traction. Not bad. I couldn't tell the difference between the 510s and the 9.8s there. There are so many people making the exact same pedal across different brands, and it's not innovating. This is truly innovative, and I really applaud 9.8 for thinking outside the box and bringing it to market. I really like that you can put the screws wherever you want. You can determine the pattern you want and how many and how few. The insertion tool was really great. The process of putting screws in was really easy, and I like the idea of giving old shoes new life that might be worn out and not have a whole lot of grip, like these shoes I'm on now. And I really like the off-road traction. I think it makes a lot of sense in the winter. If you enjoy seeing me swap pedals and shoes on the trail to try the different combinations so you can learn from this review, make sure you're subscribed, give this video a like, a thumbs up, and consider supporting me using one of the links below. Now, this is not a sponsored video. 9.8 is not paying me, but they do have a discount code for you guys. If you use the link below, it helps support this channel. It doesn't cost you any extra money. In fact, it saves you money. So if you want to try them out, make sure to use that link. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. Are there any pros or cons that I missed? What do you see as the biggest advantage or the biggest drawback? Are you interested in a system like this, or do you like what's always proven to work? I rely on my wonderful viewers to be able to support this channel to make it my full-time job, and I'm so grateful for all of you. Thanks for getting nerdy with me today and expanding your big brain. See you later.